change of plans. As always, I can't just create a pan and stick with a pan. I've got to change these plans up. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing you a bit of a look at my makeup collection. Specifically, we are going to be looking at all the shadows that fit the idea of the 2026 Pantone Color of the Year, Cloud Dancer. It is very much a white shade, so I've pulled all the shades from my collection that kind of match this color. I have got both shimmers and mattes, so we're going to be going over them all today. Though I have quite a large amount of palettes here in front of me, I actually thought there would be more than there is. But I'm going to try to go through these semi-alphabetically by brand name. So let's jump straight in with my first palette. First up, we have the Barry M in the Stars palette. And specifically, we are looking at this shadow over here, which is called Whist. I will put a photo of it over here so you can get an idea of what it looks like close up. But it is a shimmer shade. I'm going to do a swatch for you, and this is in fact the first time I have even used this palette. How is going to be the best way to do this? So just here, that one there is Whist. It is very shimmery, and in fact you can't see it super great on this light, but it does have an undertone of goldy red to it, which really was one of the things where I was tossing up whether I include these shimmer shades or not because of the undertones in a lot of them, but I figured it doesn't hurt just to go over them. Then you have my BH Cosmetics 80s Remix Dance Palette. You'll recognize this from my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan. So now I have that linked up in the cards and down in the description. So you might have already guessed that the shade we're going to talk about is Virgin down here. It is another really shimmer shade with undertones that are maybe not exactly for this color, for the Pantone color. Once again, I'll have a picture of it over here somewhere, but it does, I guess, meet the basic principle of the shade, and that is that one there. It is a lot more wet appearance, like a sheen coming from within the skin rather than full-on glitter, but that is Virgin. Then we're going to move into my Beauty Bay palettes, and I do have quite a few of these, some of which I have actually never used, and that includes this one right here. So this is my Alice in Wonderland 1951 palette. This is from when they did that Disney collection. Oops, had the little plastic bit in here. But this is the shade here. These do not have names. The names are generally exactly where this shade had come from within the color story of the film. So this one is actually from the Cheshire Cat's Teeth. This shade right here, it is a matte, so we are going to put it onto my other arm, but I definitely think this very much embodies the shade Cloud Dancer as expected by Pantone. Oh, actually putting it on like that, a lot more taupey gray than I expected. I thought it was a lot more white, so yeah, that was very interesting. But that is the Cheshire Cat's Teeth from my Alice in Wonderland 1951 palette. Then from my Bambi 1942 palette, we have one in here as well. And it is this one over here. And this, once again, I'm going to throughout this have those pictures up here, which you'll see. So this one here is actually Thumper's tail. So I'm imagining it's potentially going to be similar to the Cheshire Cat's teeth. And it's not going to come out as white as I was maybe expecting it to. So actually, to be honest with you, these shades look very, very similar. This does have more white in it than this one, but they are very similar shades, and I'm not surprised that it is not pure white. Then we have the Bright Matte palette, also by Beauty Bay. And we're going to be looking at this shade up here, which is called Coconut Crush. I'm imagining that this is more along the lines of what Cloud Dancer is meant to represent. It is a very, very white shade. Pure white, in fact. There we go, right there. I might need to add a little bit more to that. Yeah, there we go. That is very, very white. I'm gonna have to start moving my lines a bit more over here, I think. I'm not the best at swatches, let's be honest here. And then from the Bright 2.0 palette, we have another white just here in the middle. This one is called Sneakers. So I guess it's from the idea of the white sneakers. It is also a matte. And it is also very, very white. It is probably very similar to the other one, maybe a bit brighter actually. But overall, you've got one of these shades, you've got all of these shades in your collection. Then we're on to the new Mood palette. And for this one, we have got two shimmer shades here. So as you can automatically see, the undertones are very different. This one's quite blue, this one is quite reddy pink up here. But I also figured that it was worth including these into this, I guess, review. See, definitely very pink, very greeny purple, very blue maybe. Because like I said, it's worth trying these other shades too, though they are definitely not really hitting in the same Cloud Dancer category that these ones are. But it is nice to have a look at these very interesting two-toned shimmers. Then from my Beauty Bay Dark Fantasy palette, which you will recognize this from my Dude You Panned My Battleship project I'm doing with Samantha from Makeup Mania and more. I'll have that playlist linked up in the cards and down in the description. So I do have a white in here, and it is this one up here called Atmosphere. It is very white. I think from the fact that I seem to be leaning over here, you'll probably see my little pictures actually coming up this side rather than where I originally was intending. But Atmosphere is a very white shade. There are quite a few of these I'm noticing in the Beauty Bay collection. And I would say this one is also very similar. Like these, none of these are really giving me anything that the other one isn't. So like I said, if you were looking for whites, you definitely have those quite readily within the Beauty Bay collection. And then for my last Beauty Bay palette, we have the Nikki Tutorials palette. This one opens up a bit differently like so. And as you can see, we have one white shade right here at the top. It is called Ivy, and it's also a shimmer shade. So let me get a swatch of that one for you. This one's really awkward to try to hold. So it is a shimmery white. very similar to the one just above it. It does have that pinky undertone to it. Then we're going to move on to my Essence palettes. First up, I have this Essence Counting Stars palette in the shade O2, A Sky Full of Stars. And in this, we have this white shade down here. It is another shimmer, and in fact is kind of verging on gold. So this might be a lot more gold than white. But let's just lay that out. Yes, it's definitely got a gold undertone to it. That would be a very nice highlighter. Then from my Hello New York palette, this one is in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project. We have this white one up here. It is another shimmer white, and this one definitely has a blue gray base to it, similar to the rest of the shadows within this palette. Yeah, very blue based. That's one right there. Then from my Face of Australia palette, we have another shimmer white up in the top corner here. If I can get into this palette. Figured it out. This one just up here. That's it right there. This one is very white. This one, in fact, might actually better fit the concept of the Cloud Dancer. Then we have my KVD Metal Matte palette. A few years ago, this was my Pan That palette. I'll have that series linked up in the cards and down in the description. So I do have quite a few pans in here, but I would love to see more. But the shade specifically we're going to be talking about is Linen over here. It is once again a matte white shade. This is it right here. And this is what it looks like right there. It is getting a bit older in my collection, so the pigmentation is probably not as good as it once was, but that's it right there. Then we have the Menagerie Pastel Pup palette, and specifically the shade down here, which is called Saddleback, and this one is a matte white as well. Let me give that a swatch. There we go. That one is very pigmented. That is it just there. Then we're going to move on to my Revolution palettes. I have just bundled all of the Revolution brands in together. So there's Revolution, there's I Heart Revolution, and there's Revolution XX, all in the same pile. But we're going to start off with the Revolution Harley Quinn palette. And specifically, we're going to be looking at this shadow down here. This is a shimmery white, and it is called Wild Side. But that is that one. Very much a shimmery white shade. Then I've got the Emily Edit, the Wants palette. And from this one, you're not going to be surprised, but we're going to be talking about the Cream, which is another shimmer shade. It is probably not as white as some of the other shades that we've looked at today. It is a bit more cream based. Yeah, that is definitely a lot more cream based. Potentially doesn't fit within this category, but that is the Cream. Then we have the I Heart Revolution Peppermint palette. We're going to be looking at another shimmer. It's this one down here. These do not have names for them, but it is a very, very sparkly shimmer shade. That's it right there. And then we have the I Heart Revolution Fruity Pebbles palette. And we're looking at this shimmer shade up here. This one is called Milk. That's it right there. It is probably verging on being more silver than white, but that's it right there. Then we have the XX Revolution The Matrix palette, and we're going to be talking about the one, which is this shimmer shade over here. That is it right there. We are running out of arm space for these shimmer shades, but it is it right there. Then we have a couple sample beauty palettes, starting with the Cult palette, and we're looking at this shadow up here. This is called 2016, and it is a matte white shade. That is it right there. And that is a swatch of it. And then we have the Equalizer palette. I think we have a couple shades in this one down the bottom here. One is matte and one is shimmer. So let's start with the matte one first, which is called Gin. That is what this one looks like. That's it right there. And then the other one over here is called Tonic. I do like the way that these shadows are set up in this palette, with each shade having a shimmer version of it. But that is that one right there. Then we have my Only Sephora palette, and we're looking at this shade over here called Soy Latte. It is a shimmer, and I think it is a lot more gold than it is white. Yeah, it's definitely, that is a gold shade. That is definitely not a white shade. We've just got 4 more palettes left. We have the Urban Decay, the Naked Sin palette. And this one, if I can open it, there we go. We have this shade over here, which is also a shimmer shade, and it's called Bad Habit. This is it right here. And that's it right there. Then we have my Viseart Petite Matte Bright Editorial palette. So this one, oopsie. This one right here. We have the white up here in the corner. These do not have names. It is a bright white. That's it right there. There we go. It's just another bright white shade. Then we have the W7 Whatever Totally Random palette. And specifically, we're looking at this shade up here, which is called Blank Stare. And it's also a matte shadow. That's it right there. There we go. Just another matte white shadow. And last but not least, we have the W7 Total Eclipse palette. And for this one, we're looking at this sparkly shimmer over here, which is called Orion. This one is a very soft, heavily glittered shade. That's it, just down the bottom there. So those are all the white shades within my collection that kind of match the feel. I will say these matte shades definitely match this a lot better than these shimmer shades, but it was definitely a lot of fun to go through my collection overall and see whether white is a commonly occurring shade. I obviously have quite a few matte whites within my collection, and definitely a lot more of these shimmer whites, but I wouldn't necessarily say that Cloud Dancer is a shade that is common within my makeup collection. And now that I've got all these palettes out, I've got to put them back away again. But until next time, I'm Verity. This was my collection review for the Pantone Color of the Year Cloud Dancer. And now to the outro.